I got up this morning thinking about tonight's big game, I'm confused. I'm a tiny bit confused. So as crazy as it sounds, I could end up rooting for Angel Reese over Caitlin Clark tonight. Don't jump ship on me. I'm no fan of Louisiana State University's women's basketball player who will star opposite the Iowa sensation in the most fascinating women's basketball game ever played. Bayou Barbie versus Show White for the right to advance to the Final Four is the most culturally relevant basketball collision in 45 years since Irvin Magic Johnson and Larry the Hick from French Lick Bird met in the men's title game. In 1979, I rooted for Magic. As an 11-year-old boy, no athlete captured my imagination the way the 6'9" point guard did with his charismatic smile and no-look passes. I was obsessed with Magic and the fast-paced style of play he popularized. 18 years later, Tiger Woods' golf ascension sparked a similar sports obsession, only greater. I never cared for golf before Tiger began winning tournaments. Woods transformed me. He made me care about Ernie Els, Jim Furyk, David Duval, Mark O'Meara, Phil Mickelson, Sergio Garcia, and so many others. He forced me to care about the history of golf and learn to appreciate Tom Watson, Jack Nicklaus, Arnold Palmer, and Greg Norman. Caitlin Clark has had the exact same impact on me as Magic and Tiger. I'm obsessed with her. She's compelled me to learn more and more about the women's game. Southern California's Juju Watkins is my second favorite player. But there's a difference. There was never a moment when Magic Johnson took the court or Tiger Woods strolled a golf course that I wasn't clearly rooting for them. Tonight, I could very well be rooting for Angel Reese. I think I am. It's crazy. Reese is arguably the most overrated athlete of my lifetime. She's more overrated than boxer Jerry Cooney, who fought Larry Holmes for the heavyweight crown in 1982. All that Angel Reese really brings to the matchup is her in-your-face, hey-look-at-me attitude. Her claim to fame is taunting Caitlin Clark. That's it. She's not that skilled. She's not Larry Bird or Magic Johnson. She's Greg Kelser, the Michigan State wingman who benefited from Magic's transcendent playmaking ability. Reese is a solid post player. She knocks down 5 to 8 putbacks per game and grabs 10 to 12 rebounds. Solid work. She's not a star. She's not a co-star. So why might I be rooting for her tonight? Buckle up, because LSU coach Kim Mulkey is the real star of women's college hoops. Mulkey is the real villain, the force who threatens the left wing's narrative on all of sports. Caitlin is the most interesting and electrifying athlete in all of sports. Mulkey is the most dangerous person in sports. She's the disruptor the left-wing establishment wants to destroy. Kim Mulkey, she's the real Bayou Barbie. The left hates her because she's the antithesis of their chosen savior, South Carolina coach Dawn Staley. The discrimination, vitriol, and unfairness that Staley pretends to receive, the mainstream media actually directs towards Kim Mulkey. Over the weekend, as the Lady Tigers prepared for their Sweet 16 matchup against UCLA, the Washington Post published an 8,000-word takedown of Mulkey. The much-anticipated piece framed Mulkey as paranoid, vindictive, isolated, mean-spirited, and unloving. A week prior, Mulkey and her lawyers preemptively threatened a lawsuit over the article, which I'm sure forced the Post editors to tone down the attack. But the gist of the attack remained. While a coach at Baylor, a religious university, Mulkey had the audacity to refuse to worship the LGBTQ alphabet mafia. She advised Brittany Griner and other homosexual players to keep their private lives private. Mulkey wasn't a fan of tattoos and constantly changing hair colors. She preferred her players to present themselves as women at all times and not as androgynous hoopers. Mulkey, without saying it, clearly believes there's only two genders. She patrols the sidelines in flamboyant, highly feminine outfits because she wants to make a statement that there is just as much strength in traditional femininity as the hypermasculine appearance of Griner and others. For all of this and more, Mulkey is demonized. How dare she not virtue signal support for Griner when Brittany Griner was incarcerated in Russia for an immature choice that Brittany Griner made to carry illegal drugs into a foreign country? How dare she? How dare she prefer a locker room environment free of complications of romantic relationships between teammates? A writer for the Los Angeles Times, though, took it to a new level. He took the attacks on Mulkey way over the top. He said LSU's game with UCLA was a battle of good versus evil. He labeled the Tigers the dirty debutantes. That label is attached to a pornographic video series. The writer basically called LSU dirty whores. Their crime? Playing for Mulkey, a heterosexual Christian who won't bow to the secular woke. It's comical. Mulkey takes the kind of heat and criticism the secular woke pretends Staley gets. Staley, who dresses like a teenage boy, is worship. She manufactures discrimination and victimhood. A Duke volleyball player falsely claimed BYU students serenaded her with racial slurs. Without any corroborating evidence, Staley canceled a basketball game at BYU over safety concerns. When an investigation debunked the bogus story, Staley never apologized. Last year, during the NCAA tournament, Staley smeared Iowa coach Lisa Bluder as racist. Bluder said in a press conference that rebounding against South Carolina was like getting into a bar fight. Staley climbed on a cross and acted like Bluder led a pregame KKK rally. Take a listen.
The truth about our team, okay? It's a good question, okay? We're not bar fighters. We're not thugs. We're not monkeys. We're not street fighters. This team exemplifies how you need to approach basketball on the court and off the court. And I do think that that's sometimes brought into the game, and it hurts.
So imagine you're Lisa Bluder. You're about to play one of the most physical basketball teams in all of women's college basketball, probably the most physical. This is last year's South Carolina team. Same is true for this year's South Carolina team, but they got 5 new starters. You're about to play them, and you say, man, rebounding against them is tough. It's like getting into a bar fight. And then there's a black woman that gets on TV the next day and says, we're not monkeys, we're not thugs, we're not bar fighters, we're not street fighters. Now, I know Dawn Staley, in order to dress these comments up, pretended like someone had told her some gossip about some sports writers who may have said this or that at dinner. But the woman just trashed one of her colleagues, Lisa Bluder, for saying that it's like getting in a bar fight. And the next thing you know, oh my God, we're not monkeys. And we're not thugs. No one said that. No one insinuated that. If someone said it behind your back at a private dinner, who the F cares? She smeared this woman intensely. Dawn Staley, the person they worship, is not a good person. And she runs around pretending like the LA Times wrote a story calling her basketball team the dirty debutantes. She pretends like someone wrote in a newspaper that her team was filled with a bunch of dirty whores. That's the game she played. They actually say that about Kim Mulkey's team because they hate Kim Mulkey. Dawn Staley pretends like the Washington Post has written some kind of 8,000-word hit piece going into her personal life. This Washington Post story went deep into Kim Mulkey's personal life. Her relationship with her dad, her relationship with her ex-husband, her relationship with former players who complain. One of them complained, "Oh my God," she said, "what's up with my purple hair?" The Washington Post did that. No one's writing stories, hit pieces, looking into Dawn Staley's relationship with former players, which is quite sketchy according to the rumors. No one's writing about that. It's Kim Mulkey. And we allow Dawn Staley to run around like she's the victim. Dawn Staley is why I'll likely be rooting for Angel Reese tonight. Reese and Clark, they're going to disappear into the abyss of the WNBA. For the next decade, the Cold War between Dawn Staley and Kim Mulkey is going to define women's college basketball. No matter how much I love Caitlin Clark, I just can't get it out of my head that Caitlin Clark is an athlete. I've looked at all these athletes. There's too much money. There's too much incentive for them to sell out and to go woke. And so, I love Caitlin Clark. She's made me pay attention to women's college basketball. Thank her for that. I'll be watching tonight because of her. But would it shock me if she folds, if she bows to the alphabet mafia and the whole left-wing crowd? If her group of handlers don't tell her, you know how much more money we could make if you just play along? Wouldn't be surprised at all. That's what all these athletes do. Kim Mulkey, that's a grown-ass woman. She's not going to fold. She's not perfect, but she's battle-tested. I think Mulkey and the Tigers have a better chance at beating South Carolina than Iowa. And that's why I'll more than likely be rooting for Angel Reese and LSU tonight. Because Kim Mulkey's in it for the long haul. And this is a war. And that is not a shot at Caitlin Clark. She's a young person. She's a kid. Go out and get your money. Go out and have as much fun as you can have in the WNBA, which I don't know how much fun you can have, but do it. Maybe go to the Big Three, whatever. But Kim Mulkey, she's not perfect, but she's a warrior. And she's in it for the long haul. She's been fighting this group of leftist, deranged idiots her entire career. And she's sitting here right now at the pinnacle of her powers, a chance to win her 5th national title. She's already got 4. And I explained this to you guys a couple of weeks ago, but it's worth reiterating. She has 4 national titles. But who's the women's coach that they parade around opposite Coach K, Mike Krzyzewski, as if this particular woman's coach is the GOAT of women's college basketball? Who do they do that for? Oh, Dawn Staley. She's got 2 titles. Dawn Staley has been anointed and pushed ahead of Kim Mulkey because she fits the profile for everything that they're pushing. Everything. They want women to be androgynous. They want women to be gender fluid, sexually fluid. They want female coaches who lean into a masculine appearance. Know that irritates y'all? They want female coaches that are on the alphabet team. And Kim Mulkey's not. And I could probably get in trouble for saying, but we keep it all the way real on this show, so I'm just going to say it. I'm not saying this to be disrespectful. I'm not saying it to be provocative. But it is so clear-cut why they hate Kim Mulkey and why they celebrate Dawn Staley. And if you... one of these 2 women, and I'm just going to say it because it's real and it's true. One of these 2 women, and I'm not saying that this is what women need to do, but it just tells you where the difference in mindsets are. I'm not saying this is appropriate. I'm just telling you the difference in mindsets. And if I had to choose, I know which way I'm choosing. One of these women made millions of dollars and invested in a pair of redone jugs because she still wants the attention of men. And one of them puts a hoodie on every chance she can get and runs around looking like a little teenage boy with a hoodie on, looking like Snoop from The Wire. And I'm not saying Kim Mulkey's right. I'm just telling you what I prefer. And the striking difference between these two. One of them 60 years old and still trying to look the part, still trying to draw the attention of men. She's divorced. I'm not saying it's all the right thing to do, but I just, the contrast is so incredible. And one of them gets demonized and vilified for it, and the other gets celebrated. If you enjoyed that video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss a moment of Fearless.